Welcome to Actions and Limits. My name is Justin Atherton. I'm the Peak Performance Consultant for Confidence Unchained. With me as always is Paul Fortune. Paul is a mindset coach and the founder of A Call to Action. And together, we make Actions and Limits. Welcome to the show, the podcast where we talk about the actions we can take and the limits we create. Paul, it's the Christmas episode. I'm excited for Christmas coming up. I know all of our listeners and viewers are out there as well, excited for Christmas. I know it's a little bit different this year, but we're still celebrating it, and I'm excited to have our guests come out and share it with us. But man, Christmas is just a few days away, Paul.
It's time for the holly jolly spirit, Justin, the holly jolly spirit. Put on your ugly sweater and have a good time. Sip some eggnog. You know, you may spike it with something in it. If not, that's okay too. Enjoy it. Hopefully you're with your family. I know it might be different with COVID and travel. Maybe you guys can do a Zoom or what have you if you can't see each other. But I always enjoy this time of year. You know, I do see a lot of giving, like just recently, and I hope it wasn't just for Christmas, and I hope people do this all year round, but there was a homeless person hanging out, and I saw this a woman that walked up, and I just happened to walk by and listen to the conversation, and she was basically taking her food order, and the homeless person, you know, I could tell was very embarrassed because she didn't take the blanket off her head. And when the woman walked away, you know, to get the food, the homeless person, and she was probably a little, probably in her early 20s, said, "Ma'am, you're very, very nice." And that just hit me. And I'm like, wow. And she said, "Well, thank you very much." And then obviously she went to get the food, and then I left. But you know, I wanted to share that because, you know, that time of year, I think it's nice to do that, but I think it's nice to do it all year round.
Yeah, definitely, you know, reach out to people in need. It's sad, you know, to hear those stories, especially someone so young, being homeless. And, you know, you always wish that there was some kind of better solution to the problem than what we're doing right now. But you know, being able to help that person and give them something to eat, you know, so they can, you know, at least make it through the next, you know, few days till their next meal or whenever that is. Yeah, that's definitely a good story to share, Paul. But yeah, it's that time of year, right? I think you start seeing that more often because people, you know, they get in that Christmas spirit, that holiday spirit, and go, yeah, hey, I want to do something for someone else. It makes me feel good to do something for someone else, right? You know, so I think we see that more often.
Yeah, and like I said, with the Christmas season, you see it a lot, but I like to see it all year round. I think it's a powerful thing because people need help, not just in December. They need help every month of the year.
Yeah, you're right, and especially, you know, this year it's been a whole different experience. So yeah, if there's someone in need, I know, Paul, you push out like even your local businesses and stuff like, hey, come visit here. Let's keep these places going. So I think that's another, you know, good thing to do is, you know, support your local businesses, you know, during the Christmas time, however that looks for you, you know, whether it's having a Christmas meal there, if you don't want to cook, or just, you know, pitching it to your friends, being like, hey, this is a great place to go. So that same kind of thing, right? You know, sharing that wealth and trying to help out your neighbors. So, but man, Christmas is here. I know it's a little bit different for people this year, but what are your plans, Paul? What are you planning on doing for Christmas this year? Is it going to be a little bit different?
Yeah, yeah, we don't know yet. Normally we go to a restaurant, but this year that might not be the case because I'm in California here. So you know, we'll change it up. We'll definitely do something. Sure. Definitely small, but yeah. I miss that tradition,
Yeah.
but hopefully next year will be different. But yeah, we're gonna play it by ear.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's good to be able to flow with it, right? To be adaptable, because it's that's a tough thing for people. It's like, hey, we have our traditions. We normally have these family members come out, so it can be that tough time. And I know this is something that Chad's going to talk about too, because he's struggled with some depression and some other mental health issues, and that becomes prevalent during the holidays. And so I'm curious to pick his brain a little bit on that and see what he does to help get himself out of a funk, because different people use different things. I know we've talked about on the show before, I use the gym a lot to kind of work out my mental issues. If I'm struggling with some anxiety or some stress, and everyone uses different tools and techniques to push themselves through. But I think this time of year, it kind of hits harder. The weather, it's a little colder. We get less sun. There's all these factors that play in. And now, you may not have your family around you. You may not be able to perform your normal traditions. So this may be a time of year that it hits a little bit harder. So you need to be focused on that and focus on yourself and your own health, your own mental health. So I'm excited to pick Chad's brain on that a little bit.
Let's bring him out.
Okay. So Chad Smith is the voice behind the podcast C's Get Degrees, going from ordinary to extraordinary, featuring topics around his passions, comedy, mental health, and self-help. Chad partners with life coaches and networking groups featuring young entrepreneurs to help start and promote their businesses. After spending nearly a decade in both agricultural startups and retail sales, Chad knows what truly drives people's emotional needs, from a business through emotional buying decisions. Chad has been a featured podcast guest on multiple worldwide shows, and Chad is also active member of the Apple Podcast Co-op and Venture Project. Chad leverages podcast opportunities in these listed Facebook groups, podcasts, Buzzsprout podcast community, and others. One of the many featured leadership speakers for myglobalsummit.com is Chad Smith. And Chad is a born-again Christian that is super passionate about comedy, electric guitars, the outdoors, mental health, and sobriety living. All right, everyone, welcome Chad Smith to the show. Chad, we're so glad to have you here on the Actions and Limits podcast for our Christmas episode. So Chad, welcome to the show, man.
It is awesome, man. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Paul was filling me in on your content, and I know you got a show. Paul was a guest. Man, tell us your story, man. How did you get into this, being this influencer, being a podcaster? Like, where did this all start for you, Chad?
Oh, well, okay. So the truthfulness of how it started, it actually started with me drinking all the time, and I'm not going to say don't do that, guys, because I'm 100% clean. But what it was because I cleaned up. A friend of mine, actually, I got two friends that run podcasts. So one does On the Wagon Pod, and another one is Action. Dude, I couldn't even tell you the titles, man. They're good buddies. I just haven't looked into it that much, but they're both nationwide on their podcast stuff, and we're just at it's called the Venture Project in Oshkosh. So I'm in Green Bay, but it's about half hour south of here. We just meet up. Before COVID, we would meet up once a month to see. It's like a small business incubator is what we would call it. So just make sure everyone's kind of on the same limits, mindsets, kind of like coaching each other. It's just one of those collective groups that just kind of lifts everyone up. Okay. And we started talking, and I ran into Dan, and Dan's pretty much within 2 weeks difference of sobriety with me. And we're just joking around, having fun. I'm like, yeah, dude, I would do this when I was hammered and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, pause those stories. I want you to record it. I'm like, yeah, right. He's like, no, seriously. He goes, I want you to record it. And the further we're going into it, the further going in, he's like, dude, just do your podcast, do a podcast, do a podcast. I ended up releasing it. I think I started mine in May, but I was on his in March. So it gave me like a few, months to build it up and all that stuff. So
sure.
It was supposed to be built on comedy stories and drunkenness and sobriety and the journey. And it's actually quite funny how life just molds a different direction.
Sure.
Now it's more of just high energy business develop or high energy self-help, business development, mental health. It's a blending project, and I don't want to use the term project. It was a side project that I didn't want to do at the beginning because I thought I wanted to be stand-up comedy at the time, but I'm enjoying this ride, man. I can't even. People ask, how is it? What's going on and all that stuff. You guys could probably understand that too because you're on social media too. This is the first thing in my life I cannot wrap my head around, and I don't want to wrap my head around it because it's so special doing this stuff that I don't want to overthink it. I just want to go get in, just feel it more like an improv and just let her rip. So it's I can't even explain what ducks lined up, and it's such a tough, not a tough. It's a curveball story that just kind of out of the blue that it just blew up into something a lot bigger than I actually estimated at the first time. So I'm not overnight success, guys. This is 12 plus years getting here, but it's way too much fun stuff's occurring with this journey.
Well, first off, congratulations on your sobriety. That's awesome, Chad.
Yeah, I hit 1 year, give or take. Thanksgiving, somewhere in there. I think it was the 25th. I think it was the day.
May I ask, what was the breaking point?
Half bottle of Tito's and driving home with one light out thinking you would fix it, and then getting your ass reamed out by your cousin because you ended up taking drunk pictures with her and her family, and she did not like that. So nicely, that was the tipping point, like the one that pushed you over the edge. Getting to that point, it was multiple things. So like I didn't take care of my depression at times. I went through a nasty divorce. I would bury myself in the bottle with trying to fight my own image, take care of childhood stuff. It as an addict, you would say, okay, it's one thing. It's not. It's like 20 things pushing at the same time. It's just that one thing that kind of crosses that line and forces you to change it. So
you talked about the mental health aspect of it, and some of that's coming up there as well. So talk about that. Like, what kind of work are you doing? Because during the holidays and especially during COVID right now, that's something that's really prevalent going on. So speak about that a little bit.
All right. So I know you guys, or at least Paul's on the west side or Cali, right?
Yeah, I'm in Cali. Justin's in Texas.
Okay. I know Texas a little bit looser on lockdown because I know my sister lives there. Wisconsin, we're kind of in the middle. So like we're not as strict as Cali, but we're not as wide open as Texas. And me and her chuck all the time about it. She lives in Houston, so we kind of get some of it. The thing with the mental health is there's two roads that people took with this. So like the ones that didn't actively fight their issues. So the ones that actually took a proactive route actually got better and cleaned up their life, or at least cleaned up the areas that affected their life with like entertainment or whatever it was that was affecting that rattle got taken away with COVID. On the other side of it, the ones that are mentally weak that don't know how to approach or be proactive with it went the other way because they're so used to that interaction, because with that interaction, I don't want to call it like a control thing. The ones with the weaker ones will always be the ones in the group that always tear people down because they have to be around someone just to tear them down to make themselves feel better. With my end of it, I got rid of everything that's positive or negative as I can be. Only time my TV's on is when I watch the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, the Brewers and stuff, like baseball and stuff, it was nice hearing on the radio. So lockdown kind of sucked at times for that because you can kind of miss voices. But yeah, I turned the news off back in March, somewhere in there, April. Sure. I brought more positive in. So like more my faith journey, I brought in more. I volunteered more. I looked at as on the proactive side of it is a lot of people wanted something like this to happen back in the day, but it's like, okay, here you have this gift that's dropped on your lap. Now it's your time to completely wipe your slate off and completely change whatever you messed up in the past and come back a stronger person. So I took that route and completely just bulldozed everything that I knew that was affecting my mental health, especially it's hereditary. It's 8:30 at night.
Sure.
It's a hereditary issue, and I'm out of dozen and a half, 2 dozen people in my family. I'm the only direct in line with father, daughter, son. So like when you look at father, daughter, son genetic passovers, mental health is actually at the bottom of the list. So it's actually in the top 5. So my grandpa dealt with depression big time. He passed away last January. And now I watched how someone can be so, and I had the same issue in my 20s when I was married. So like you're so mad at yourself, you don't like what it is. You actually tear your wife down and hold her back because you don't know who you are first. And you're kind of pretty much fighting your own demons versus trying to, so you're like controller because you're fighting your own demons. That's
Sure.
like a vicious cycle. So I saw that, and then I saw my stepdad going on the same route, kind of with my mother, and I'm like, you know what? I'm the only one in the family that's going to do it, and I'm going to take the proactive approach and fix it because, yeah, every day is not, every day is a gift, man. You can have people pass away tomorrow, and at least me, I want to be at the gates and say, hey, dude, I gave it my all back then. Do I get a pass or not? All right, cool.
Every day is a work in progress for everybody, and everybody has good days and everybody has bad days, and we all have triggers. So when those triggers are hitting you, Chad, what do you do now healthy to get over these triggers?
Ooh, it's a battle, and I'm going to say battle wise. So anyone that has mental health issues or addiction issues, when you get bad, you tend to actually get quiet and kind of push yourself away from people. I have a good dozen strong-willed church ladies that check in on me. They're like, hey, we haven't heard from you in a few days. How you doing? Oh, that stuff. I'm actually taking the reverse role. So I have a buddy that got me to clean up. He went back on the off the wagon, and now I'm doing the reverse role back to him. So it's almost, when you're on the reverse role, it's tough to teach it. You're just so used to the routine of, okay, I got to go to this person. I got to go to this person. I got to do this. Now you're kind of taking what worked for you and you're kind of passing it to a different person. Sure. But yeah, no, in a short answer, I would reach out to people. You could just tell because like my tone of my music changes. I go super heavy metal, whatever it is when I'm in a rut, just to kind of like work out and get it out of me. That's kind of the route I go. In a short answer,
music.
But
music is powerful with you. It sounds like.
Where you want to start?
So how do you feel about Christmas music? Does that help? Yeah.
Oh man. It depends what it is. So I'm a huge metalhead. So okay. TSO is actually phenomenal. That's probably one of the best concerts. I seen them 12 years ago, like right when they first got big. And oh, dude.
Tell everybody what TSO is because they might not know.
All right. So all you guys that don't rock, pop, wherever you want to list them, rock music, metal music, whatever it is. So TSO are all Juilliard artists that just play Christmas music, but they crank the amps up to 10 and they go.
It's Trans-Siberian Orchestra, right?
Yes. Yeah. Trans-Siberian Orchestra. They're a phenomenal group. I don't even know how many groups are in it now because there's multiple. Sure. At the time, there were multiple bands, but I saw it with one true band, so just not the travel bands. Mm-hmm. And that's probably one of the top 3 moments of me buying a guitar because obviously I grew up with Ozzy, so like Zakk Wylde, and like I can go through all my Eddie Van Halen's and stuff.
Sure.
This dude was black hair down to his chest, like waist, black trench coat, freaking white Stratocaster, which is a Fender, looks just like Jimi Hendrix on stage. It was just like flames going in the backyard, and he's just on top of the speaker, just jamming away. I'm like, okay, if that's not rock and roll right there,
playing
what
Christmas
is?
Music.
Oh, it was 4.5 hours of just straight musical, and it was probably I paid more for a Metallica concert ticket than that, and I'm like, no way. my mom kept looking at me. She's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Keep going, keep going."
Yeah,
It was like
it's pretty intense, right? It's this rock Christmas music that they're pumping, and no words at all. They're just they're just rocking it out, and it's pretty impressive. And I'm sure going to a concert like that is pretty a pretty special thing. So um,
I can go for an hour on how cool that concert was, and we'll just keep it quiet. If any of you guys have a chance to see him when COVID's done, go do it because it will freaking blow your mind away.
So what do you normally do for Christmas? Is it different now because of your sobriety?
Typically, yes. So we have obviously my stepdad and mom got married back then, so we have a split family. But a couple of years, usually my sister would do like a Zoom call with my sister because she's in Houston. So at the time, she would not really fly home. She did fly home last year. But we would pretty much, the ones that are here within an hour of our hub, we would do like a Sunday night service where we do the candlelight, and then we would, go back Christmas morning and do whatever it is and come back for like a dinner. So like you do your gift opening, your food opening, you do football, kind of like a Thanksgiving.
Sure.
And then now this isn't my routine, but it's starting to become my routine. So I got to add something different to it. Since we're so much split families, and remarried and married and all that stuff, we typically do Christmas the weekend before. Because then my nieces and nephews and whatever can open up or wake up at their own place for Christmas and
Sure.
and see the gift and the funness of that. So my parents usually go to a movie Christmas night with my aunt and uncle or whatever it is. So I don't know what it's going to be this year for me because obviously I moved to Green Bay, so I'm gonna have to make my own little memory this.
Oh, so you're not going to be traveling home?
I will be traveling home, but I do not know if it's going to be for both days or not.
Okay.
Sure.
What denomination? I know that you're Christian. What denomination of Christianity do you practice?
So grew up Lutheran, and now we are it's actually Life Church. So it's non-denominational. Man, my tongue is just going today.
It's all good.
It's a neutral one. So pretty much we do like the more of the futuristic one. So like you got the active band in there, you got the big screens, you got the message. Once in a while you have communion, but it's not the old structured Lutheran or Catholic or whatever. It's like you come in, you jammed a few musics, they see a speech and do some prayers and jam again, and then you leave. So it's a fun, entertaining service that you don't want to miss.
What does midnight service look like for you then for Christmas Eve?
For there, I do not know because this is going to be my first year there. I joined this one in February. If I'm back home on Christmas Eve, I will be at our original one that I grew up at, which would be a candlelight service.
What's your favorite Christmas movie, Chad?
Ooh, probably Ralphie.
Ralphie.
Christmas Story.
Oh yeah,
You're gonna
okay,
shoot your
yeah.
eye
You'll
out.
shoot your right out, kid.
It's just something. It's Christmas or Thanksgiving when you turn on TBS and it's like, okay, hey, is Ralphie on? And then you look and you go through the screener. It's like 24 hours of straight Ralphie. I'm like, yes.
When I think of the Christmas Story, I think of the female leg lamp. That's the first thing I think of that when I think of that movie.
Oh, the Fragile line.
Yeah.
There's actually a club in downtown Appleton where I grew up. It's called the Lig Lamp, and there's all those lamps in there, and it's quite hilarious. It's like, hey, I went to this bar, and everyone's like, hey, I know where that was. So it's quite entertaining on that. So it's a toss up between that and Christmas Vacation.
Okay,
That's a good one too. Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
And then
both of them are my favorites actually, but yeah.
Yeah, and the Santa Claus never gets old.
Is that with Tim Allen?
Yep.
Okay.
My stepdad loves the old Rudolph. I just never sat down and watched it the last 10 years for some odd reason. And I could still hear it in my head.
The Land of Misfit Toys.
Yeah, dude, I'm like the misfit toy, the true just put that label on me, man. And I'm not a label person, but I think when you go through the journey, and this would be a good transition or whatever it is, but like when you go through a journey and your growth and stuff, you really appreciate the term island of misfit toys, because it's like all of us that want to learn have some sort of brokenness in us, and it's become that the collaboration with everyone is that island. So once you connect the dots, it's so much easier with life with that.
Well, I actually have a story that happened to me last Christmas Eve. I normally go with my parents to a steakhouse to eat. I'm not going to name the restaurant. And we normally go to the same one, but we're going to switch it up. Well, I don't know if there's going to be a restaurant open. But that's a different topic altogether. But anyway, so I went to the restaurant that we normally go to, and I had the steak and what have you. And then a few weeks later, the health department called me and said, "Hey, unfortunately, the food was spoiled and it carried hepatitis B." So they're going over, what I ate, and this is 2 or 3 weeks after Christmas Eve on what I ate, right? And the funny thing about it is I'm going over what I ate. And I said, "Oh, I had the steak." And then he goes, "Oh, I'm sure." And you had the baked potato, right? And I go, "No, I didn't have the baked potato." And he goes, "The baked potato comes with the meal." So I'm starting to argue. It felt like a Seinfeld episode. I started arguing. I'm like, "No, I didn't have the baked potato."
It's not right.
Yeah, I told him I don't normally have a baked potato, and I didn't eat a baked potato. But apparently it was the spinach that was infected. And thank goodness I didn't have the spinach, and thank goodness my parents didn't have it either. But it's crazy how you think about those type of things, and you think that would never happen to you, and you just never know.
That's
Oh,
a
man,
great Christmas story, Paul.
and obviously my brain's set up like a comedy, but like I just pictured that Christmas story where they're like, "Oh, turkey, no, duck."
Yeah.
When you kept talking about it, it's like here's Paul in the corner, and then it's that same layout as Christmas Story.
Yeah, where they're at the Chinese restaurant at the end, right? Yeah, that was the only thing open, right?
Oh, you want it cooked? Oh,
Yeah.
I think Paul asked me this last year. You kind of think about the movies again. Chad, do you think Die Hard is a Christmas movie?
I'm gonna say no because I only seen it a couple times. I'm more of a Lethal Weapon type of guy, so Die Hard I never really. It's
So it's no because you didn't like the movie?
No, I have more fonder memories of Bad Santa and Lethal Weapon than I do Die Hard. It's not because I haven't seen Die. I probably watched it twice, so I haven't really stuck to that series versus like the comedy side of it. So I need to, man, because this is probably the third time I had that question done. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How about Rocky IV? Would you consider that a Christmas movie?
Is that the one where he's fighting the Russians, right?
Yes.
No, that's an action movie for me.
Oh, because it did happen on Christmas Day.
There was snow.
And there was snow, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like, one of my favorite Christmas songs is by Daniel Fogelberg, Ye Old Song. And everyone's like, that's not a Christmas song. I go, it happened Christmas Eve. And then I'll throw out Baby, It's Cold Outside. I go, then if you're not going to give me that, I'm not going to give you Baby, It's Cold Outside, because that was a winter play that took place in January or February. It was not a Christmas play. So if you're not going to give me that, I'm not going to give you Baby, It's Cold Outside.
So they're lining that up with the Christmas song now?
Well, yeah.
Wait. They took it away. Never mind.
No, it's still on. I still hear that on the
I heard
radio.
a country version of it the other day. It was a newer country version of it, so I guess it's not completely gone.
Who did it? Like Martina or something?
Yeah, I didn't look
like
it
Carrie
up.
Underwood or something like that, right?
That. Yeah, it was a newer person that sang it. But yeah, but Paul has this very obscure song that he listed that I guess is a Christmas song, because they do mention Christmas in it. But they're talking about the Baby, It's Cold Outside. I can see Paul's side of the argument. I think it has been a staple Christmas song for a while, but Paul, it is from a play, like he's saying, and it was probably not around Christmas, and doesn't say anything about Christmas. All it says is it's cold outside. So it could be cold in March. So
Yeah, depending on where you are in
depending
the,
on where
I'm
you
sure in
live.
the
You're up in
Green Bay area, it's
Wisconsin.
probably cold in March, right?
Oh man, she's like 25 right now. Hey, and we're gonna laugh here, but all you guys that don't know what ice fishing is, the lakes are got ice covered right now. People are like, "Holy cow, we can almost walk out there now."
So how's
Jeez.
Christmas different up there?
I've had experiences both ways. So I experienced going down to Florida once, and I've experienced it up here. So typically we have white on the ground. Right now we had snow early, like a light batch, but we haven't had that full big blast yet, like the 3 to 6 or the
Sure.
6 to 12s or whatever. Okay, so if you have Christmases 10 times, you're probably gonna have snow cover on them 9. The last couple of years been kind of goofy. We had one where we're like 60 degrees, humid and foggy. It doesn't. And this is the same issue we had in Florida, where it's like if you grow in the upper Midwest or like Minnesota, Dakotas, or anything on the snow belt, so you draw a line across the United States, traditionally you'll have some sort of white outside, and it just blends the mood. It just makes it so much better because it blends into the movies and like Rudolph, whatever it is. You always see snow and Santa and all that stuff. Going to Florida, the only ones at the time when I was there, the upper Midwest people had the lights on. The Floridans didn't have anything. I never been to Texas during the Christmas, so I can't really tell you how that is. But to me, down
Cold.
south, yeah. To me, down south, it just didn't really feel right. But like my sister and I always say, we got blessed, or we grew up with snow. As much as we hate it, it makes the holiday time a lot more holiday-ish. I mean, that's the best way of saying it. It just makes the magic
So
happen.
you like the snow, but at what point in time, is it in January or February? You're like, okay, when does spring start? I'm sick of the cold. When is it warming up? When are you hitting that mark?
About February 1st.
Okay.
Pretty
Yeah,
quick.
yeah. Usually our negative 20s come second to last week. So usually we have about 4 or 5 weeks of it. So they kick in about January 15th ish. And then they'll roll into, I would say, March 1st at the worst. You'll still get some negative zeros in March, but traditionally all of February is pretty much like 10, 5, -5, -10. It's not, it's going to sound weird how I say it, but like we could be -10 one day and the next day would be 25, or the next day would be like -30 and it'd be back to 25. So we're going to have like a 50-degree swing, and that snow can go from when you walk outside, you can sink in it and it could be fresh powder, like, out west. And the next day it could be -20 and it'd be like just crunch, and ugh. It's like that nail on the chalkboard feeling where it's just that, and it just runs right through you, dude. Like there's wind that just rips right through you.
So because of the cold, do they put up Christmas lights, or does that affect the lights outside? Can you have
man, people do it topless up here in -10 because it's okay. And I'm dead serious how I'm gonna say this. I don't know if you've seen any Packer games playing, LA or San Fran or Houston or whatever those
Cowboys, yeah.
Yeah, when it's like late December here and it's about 10 degrees out and you have half that stand and nothing pretty much.
Yeah, all the
So, like,
cheeseheads out there with no shirts on.
Yeah,
when it's freezing out.
those same people.
And those are the same people that decorate their homes for the Christmas, huh?
Yeah,
Lights of Christmas.
they'll be in a flannel t-shirt and whatever, and they'll be in a ladder and put half their foot on a tree and yelling at their wife, "Hey, go grab a bear! I need this," whatever it is. So
Is there an area that you can drive and see a great neighborhood that has a good display of Christmas lights, or?
I probably have 3 good ones probably within 5 minutes of here.
Oh, sweet.
Green Bay's got multiple. It's a circle, so like every little corner of the city's got like I don't want to say the rich section, but like you look at like a compass, and that's how Green Bay's pretty much set up. So like west, south, whatever. In those little corners, you'll have all the larger houses that are like 3, 4, 500,000, 600, depends where you are in the country. But they tend to get, a lot of these areas tend to get creative. So Kokana, just south of us, has a house that's actually on a city block, like a city lot, and they allow people to walk through and take pictures and stop or whatever. So
That's
Green
pretty
Bay's
cool.
got this own botanical garden with just straight Christmas lights.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Are you going to be posting
Yeah.
some pictures on that? I'd like to see that.
I'm gonna
Maybe.
Okay, I am single right now, but if there's a girl in the picture of botanical lights, I probably won't be single after that.
Oh, gotcha.
I actually work 2 to 10, so right now this year all the fun pretty much has, not to sound sad, but all the fun at night pretty much got taken away because of my work schedule. So yeah, am I gonna say yes or no? I don't know. I'm not actively seeing anyone, but if someone says, "Hey, you wanna?" Yeah, I'll definitely take you on a date.
That's a date place. You can't do that one solo, huh? That's a date place. You got to take a girl to do that.
It's one of those. It's so cool that I don't want to say it's like you almost want to make it like the second or third date because it's at that level where it's kind of all wired, and I don't know. It's like a Hallmark movie, man. Just magic happens there.
Oh, it's probably like the out here in Texas, we've got something. It's called Santa's Wonderland, and it's something like that. They have like millions of lights and all these different parts they drive you through with a horse and carriage and all these different things. So if it's something like that, I get it. You're not going to go with the boys to ride on a horse and carriage and go, hey guys, let's go to Santa's Wonderland and check out the lights. So I get what you're saying, Chad, that maybe it's more of a date place. But yeah,
traditionally couples, yes, you see a lot
Sure.
of pictures of all my friends and stuff there. So it's a very nice setup. And yes, it is set up just like how you said it. There's a horse and carriage and stuff. I don't know. There's probably a plastic horse now with COVID or whatever it is. But yes, there's all you girls that want your Hallmark moment, these are the places to get it.
Yeah. I think it's a fun place to go. I like to take my daughter there. I'll take my girlfriend there and we'll go. And sometimes it's really, really cold. And I think last year my daughter was out there playing in the fake snow that they're pumping out. Cause here in South Texas, we don't really get snow, but like once every 10 years. You talk about the 9 out of 10, it's like 1 out of 10 for us, so she's out there playing in the frozen, like half melting fake snow, and it's cold, but so something for her, right? Something for the kids to go, oh, this is what snow is, I guess. And it's just kind of like slush and a little bit of sleet. It's not really that powder that you were talking about. It doesn't really happen with those machines that are pumping it out down here. So it's
yeah, you guys, I think you guys get those the ski hill machines, I think, where it's more like that wet sleet or like
that's pretty much what it is. It's like a giant ice machine that they're just snow cone that they're just pumping it out.
Yeah, we have
a hill out of it.
Yeah, those are ski hill stuff. No, and I'm gonna add a little bit to that on the snow thing. So my nieces, obviously I got family in Houston, so you're from Texas, so you get the weather that's down in Houston. And last year was the first year they actually went sledding, and they came up here and they went. My mom's like, or my nephew's like, oh, I don't need these gloves, I don't need this. My mom's like, oh yeah, you're putting gloves on, and my sister's just screaming at him. But supposedly and obviously we're in early December here, so we're recording this, but supposedly last week you guys got frosted or something, because she posted a picture where she's like, hey, this is the first time ever my kids can see fog coming out of the sewer system with frost on the ground.
Oh yeah, it's been cold out here the last couple of weeks. It gets down to the 40s. It'll get colder than that out here, but the humidity kind of keeps everything at bay. It'll freeze every once in a while, but it's not super frequent.
Well, when you're close to the Gulf, right, that kind of regulates that from going too cold, right?
Yeah, because it's a giant bath water, out there in the Gulf, keeping everything a little bit warm. So yeah, so it gets a little cold down here. So it's been chilly the last few weeks. Today it kind of warmed up to about 60. So today was a nice day out, but it's kind of up and down. But yeah, Texas weather, you never know what you're going to get. One day it's going to be super cold. I've been out here where it's been 110 on Christmas Day, and sometimes it's 20. So it all depends on how the weather's blowing that day, here in Texas. So What about you, Paul? What are some of the things for Christmas that you like to do that, you want to continue to keep doing as the years go forward?
Well, one of my favorite things to do is, I know, Justin, you're familiar with it. Chad, I don't know how often you've been to Southern California, but there's an area south of LA, in Long Beach, and where they have this area where it's kind of like canals, like Italy, and these guys do it up with the Christmas lights and everything like that. And so I like to go there by myself. I don't even need a date to go to it. I can just hang out and do it by myself. I don't care. But this is kind of a fun little thing. I went the other day by myself, and they have these gondola rides where, very romantic. They have dates and stuff like that. And Chad, I don't know if you're familiar with Long Beach. Justin, I know you are. It's the funniest thing about Long Beach. So, they have this beautiful lights, Christmas lights, and their gondola, very romantic. And then they have the police helicopter overhead with the lights circling around. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if I'm the guy, doing the gondola, going, oh, you know what, don't worry. Just, we're in the water. If it's just an armed robbery, just duck. So it's just kind of funny how, how diverse Long Beach is. It's just kind of an exciting place to be.
I was gonna say my comedic side would probably put a sign on the front and say "Still single." Here's my number.
There you go.
Well, Chad, man, glad to have you on the show. Glad you could share some of your Christmas stories and stuff. What's the best place for our audience to check you out? Check out your podcast or your other content.
All right, so my podcast is on all the 4 major carriers, so like the Amazon Music, the Spotify, the iTunes. The easiest links and stuff for it is actually go to facebook.com/the_Chad_M_Smith. And if you guys forget, look at the Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer, and that would be my name too. Not the dude, but me. So there you would have the links to my Spotify, which is a podcast called C's Get Degrees, going from ordinary to extraordinary. You can reach me on Instagram at the Chad M. Smith. Or at C Get Degrees without an S. And then also I'm on LinkedIn and YouTube, which is the Chad M. Smith on YouTube. So many of the big players, many things coming on the pipeline here. There's some books in the woodwork here. There's collaborations, some speeches. I'm just going to smile and say, hey, it's going to be a fun 2021 is what I'm seeing so far. So, and I understand tomorrow it could be taken away too. So I'm very grateful for what's going on right now.
I like that, man. I like that mindset going into it, saying, hey, it's going to be a great, 2021. So yeah, I really like that, man. So we normally wrap up the show asking our guests with the idea of the title of our podcast in mind, Actions and Limits. What would you say is one action that people can take right now that would really make a difference?
It's actually going to be the theme for my 2021, which is going to be all in. So just the 2 words is pretty simple. So it's anything that comes in your mind that is good or worse, whatever it is. If it's going to bring value to your life, just think it over and look at the word all in. If it's going to bring value, go all in.
I like it.
All in your relationships, all in on your business, all in on your personal mental health, fitness, whatever it is. It's simple, it's to the point, and you can't really hesitate when you have that blasted all over your house.
I like that, man. I like that, Chad. In the opposite side of that, these self-imposed limits that you see people put on themselves, what would you see as the number one limit you've seen out there that we need to remove right now?
Ooh, the wall of people's opinions. A lot of people tend to not live the life that they're designed to be because they're so concerned about people's opinions that they're out chasing a different life because that's what they think everyone wants. So like, hey, I bought this truck. Hey, look at my neighbors. I bought this truck. It's just, you're trying to outcompete people's opinions versus just saying, screw this. I'm running my own life, and deep down, do you care at times? Yes. But once you kind of put the blinders on, you run your own life. You really don't need to outcompete anyone. You're out competing what you did the year before.
I think that's a good tip, Chad. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming on our Christmas episode and sharing, some Christmas background of yourself and some different intricate things, about your story. So, man, thank you so much for coming on our show, Chad.
No problem. And then hopefully have you guys on. And like I said, we're going to get Paul back on here one of these times if my computer doesn't keep freezing up.
Just let me know when, Chad. I'm happy to do it.
No problem, man. You guys have a great one.
Awesome.
All right.
Glad to have Chad here on the show with us for our Christmas episode. Trying to almost wrapping up the year now. It's been an interesting year, so we're getting close to wrapping it up. But yeah, glad Chad could come on for our Christmas episode, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he's been sober for a year. That's awesome feat. It's not an easy thing. A lot of people struggle with that on the daily basis, and I'm sure he does too. And I'm glad that he's been able to, when he's been triggered, to find a way not to go that route. So I wish him the best, and I know our paths will cross again.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll all be in contact again. And yeah, like you say, congrats to him for being sober for a year. And it's probably something difficult during all of this, with the COVID and everything going on. I know alcohol sales have gone up in the year, and everybody's home doing some of that. But yeah, so good for him on that. So, but yeah, we can wrap up the show with another segment of Ask Paul Anything. Make sure to send your questions into actionsandlimits@gmail.com, and you can get your question featured on the show. And Paul, you said you found one of the questions in our email.
I did. This is from Sandra in Nevada. And she writes in and says, Paul, how many pounds of gingerbread are you going to eat this Christmas season?
Pounds. Pounds.
and the answer to that question is 1/15 of a pound. I will be eating of gingerbread.
It's just like one cookie. That's like 1.2 ounces.
I think that's what I'm gonna eat.
Just one cookie.
Just one gingerbread. I might have another cookie, but the gingerbread type, I think that's
it.
One.
Just one.
Yeah.
Well, we made a gingerbread house last night, me and my daughter. I don't think it's edible. It's been sitting in the cupboard for several years. And but we decided, we broke it out and we're like, hey, let's put it together. The icing was almost like Play-Doh. So we had to kind of add a little bit of water, mix it up a little bit. But all in all, it was a successful venture to put it together. The walls were there. It's got different like gumdrops and little rock candies and hearts and stars, and making the little clock tower. It's almost like a Disney princess castle, gingerbread castle. So I know it's been sitting in the cupboard for a while, but we won't be eating that gingerbread.
You might need to start fresh next year with the new gingerbread house.
Maybe we'll start fresh. But I had to break it to her. I'm like, yeah, we're not going to eat this. So we won't be having any gingerbread this year.
Yeah. Not of that house.
Not of that house.
Yeah.
But no, glad we could have our Christmas episode. I hope that our audience got some value from listening to Chad's story. A little bit of fun, right? Hearing about Christmas movies and different things in the different states that we're able to get through. I know it's a little bit different this year for everybody, but make sure, I think Chad really hit on it. Having that support system is really important. He said he had those ladies from church to check on him, so, and that seems to be a common theme. But if you are having some issues, especially this time of year, reach out to somebody, or be that person for someone else. Reach out to them and be like, hey, are you good? Are you doing okay? Because I think more this year than any before, people really need it. So.
Well said, Justin. On behalf of you and myself, we wish everybody a great Christmas season, and we'll see you next year.
All right. See you next Monday. Thank you for listening to the show. Don't miss an episode. Click and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform and find us on Instagram and Facebook under Actions and Limits to stay updated on all our upcoming content. Continue to email the show at actionsandlimits@gmail.com for our segment Ask Paul Anything. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.